Today, we are diving into a philosophy that is, no joke, powerful enough to change how you do just about everything, from your job to your personal life. And the best part? It's all built around one simple, powerful idea: getting just a tiny bit better every single day. So let's start with this quote from Viktor Frankl, a psychologist who survived the Holocaust. He's saying that happiness isn't this thing you go out and find. Nope. It's a side effect. It's what happens when your life has some kind of order and structure. But if that's true, it begs a pretty big question for most of us. You know the feeling, right? Your brain just feels cluttered. It's jam-packed with to-do lists, ideas you might forget, worries about what's coming next, all those nagging deadlines. It feels like the total opposite of an organized life. It's just a state of constant mental static where nothing really flows. And it turns out there's a real psychological reason for this. One of the biggest culprits behind all that anxiety is simply unfinished tasks. Our brains are literally wired to hang on to things we haven't completed. They're like little open loops that just keep buzzing in the back of your mind, making it impossible to focus. So the very first step is to get all of that stuff out of your head. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we start making those small improvements to fix this mental chaos? Well, it starts with a super practical method called the brain dump. Step 1, externalize. Get every single thought, every task, every worry out of your head and onto paper. Seriously, don't stop until your mind feels quiet. That's your first 1% win. Step 2 is to filter, because you can't do it all. You need some kind of personal mission to decide what actually matters. And then step 3, organize. You arrange the important stuff visually so you can actually see what you're working on. But what about that filter? How do you figure that out? Well, for that, we can borrow an amazing concept from Japanese culture called ikigai. Think of it as your reason for being, your reason to get up in the morning. It's where 4 things meet: what you love, what you're good at, what the world actually needs, and what you can get paid for. Your ikigai becomes your compass. So when you look at all those things you dumped from your brain, you just ask one simple question: does this task get me closer to my ikigai? If the answer is no, it's probably just noise. And here's a perfect metaphor for why having a system like this is a total game changer. Trying to manage all this stuff in your head is like turning a full water bottle upside down. The water just glugs out, right? It's chaotic, slow, and messy. But if you give that bottle a little swirl, you create a vortex, and suddenly the water flows out smoothly, predictably, and almost twice as fast. A system doesn't just organize your tasks, it actually creates flow. This whole process, moving from total chaos to real clarity, all guided by a sense of purpose, it isn't just another productivity hack. It's actually the real-world application of a much bigger, way more powerful philosophy. And it's called Kaizen. It's made up of 2 words: Kai, which means change, and Zen, which means good. So put them together, and you get change for the better, or as it's more famously known, continuous improvement. It's this core belief that massive results don't come from some giant revolutionary leap. They come from the compounding effect of a whole bunch of small, consistent improvements over time. And here is the absolute key to it all. Kaizen is not about some radical, stressful transformation. The pressure is completely off. The goal is unbelievably simple. Just get 1% better each day. That's it. One tiny, totally manageable improvement. Can you just tweak one little thing in your process? Can you learn one new idea? Can you get rid of one tiny bit of wasted time? Now, I know what you're thinking. 1%? That sounds like nothing. But this is where the incredible magic of compounding comes in. If you get just 1% better every day for a year, you're not going to be 365% better. No, you'll be nearly 37 times better than when you started. That is the jaw-dropping power of small, consistent gains. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. It was forged in the world of heavy industry. After World War II, Japan had to rebuild from scratch. An American statistician, W. Edwards Deming, came over and introduced new ways to control quality. Japanese companies ran with these ideas, but it was Toyota that really made Kaizen famous. They baked it into the very core of their legendary production system, and in doing so, they set a new standard for efficiency for the entire world. So how do you actually do this? Well, the engine that drives Kaizen is a simple 4-step loop, the PDCA cycle. First, you plan. You identify something you can improve and plan a change. Then you do it, but on a small scale. You test it out. Next, you check the results. Did it work? Was it better? And finally, you act. If it was a success, great. You make that the new standard. If it didn't work, no big deal. You learn from it and you start the cycle all over again. It's a never-ending engine for getting better. And this works for anything, not just for car companies. Here is a perfect personal example from a content creator. He planned a change, filming 2 videos at once. He did it. He checked the results and realized, wow, I'm way more efficient now. So he acted on it, making it his new standard process. It's a classic 1% improvement that ends up saving a massive amount of time in the long run. And that's what it all comes back to, really. It all comes back to you. You don't need some massive life-altering plan. You just need to start somewhere. So take a look at your work, at your day, at your habits, and just ask yourself, what is the one small 1% improvement I can make right now, today?